welcome to my channel. uh Now we can continue from where we left last time. We kind of looked some basics into the deployer package in app, and I was to bring you up to speed on how you can export your data. So this is still the code that we used last time. So exporting your data is basically using the inbuilt. If you can see here, what I've written there, it's to use the inbuilt write function. That one, write.csv, and then you can see where you have your data and the file and multiple arguments here you can choose depending on how you want it to. Now you can go and look at it. Good. Here is it. This is the data, for example, my cost data, and the file you have to specify the location where you want to export your data into. And then the reason why I've said row names is equal to false because I don't want my data to be imported with these raw numbers. So if you quickly look at this is my folder to where I'm going to write the cost data.csv. You see, this is my same folder whereby I imported the country the CSV from. So if I have been written into it, that's how you export your data. You can go on and do various exports from whatever you had done earlier from your code. Yeah, so basically today we're not going to talk about that. So before we deep dive into the Tidyr package, this is what's gonna look at the Tidyr package. We're gonna look at the gather function, the separate function, the spread function, and we see how we're gonna use this useful package. And today we're gonna look at multiple inbuilt data sets in R. Yes, R Studio comes in some inbuilt data sets, which we're gonna look at how we can use these functions to perform various tasks with them. Now, before we begin into that, kindly subscribe if you haven't done that. As you can see, this is more, it's getting more educative and more. So let's get into it. So first, let's create another new script. We can call this one as a tidyr script. Okay, and then we want to save it as a desktop. Yeah, you can just save it as a desktop. Good. Remove this. Let's clean up. This is also need to clean up the environment. This is a code I'll teach you on how you can actually write a single line our tidyr. So we're gonna learn how to work with comments, import the package. So do you guys remember how to import? If you don't, there's a couple of videos that I've done on how to import the data set. Good, that's how we import the data. That is how I import the package. And then there's something important here that I want to talk about, the inbuilt R datasets. So we're gonna load data, and in this case I want to call upon, let's just view the iris. Let's look at the iris one, and these are common data set used for practice. So first, let me good. Now here you can see I just viewed the first few rows of the iris dataset, which comes in built with R. You see we have the sepal length, the sepal width, the petal length. So if maybe the entire, here it is. You see it has 5 columns and 150 rows. You see, go down there, we have 150 rows. Virginica, Setosa, versicolor. You see, those guys who have studied biology. Simple data set whereby we have numerical values in decimals and character values in one column and our column header. So how we gonna, let's see how we can actually beautifully create something, a clean summary from this data, right? What How our data looks like. Let's jump into the gather function. Now how to use gather. All right, I want to create another data set known as iris cleaned. Okay, so now let's work with that. So let's call upon the gather function. And it's important, I also want you to note the syntax, because if you see the gather function, it has various arguments here. And you can use some, and you see, even if you want to remove ns, convert, yeah, there are various arguments here. But the ones I'm going to use with you right now is to call upon the, let me call upon the iris data. And then what is the key that you want to classify? So if you quickly come and look at this, you want to do a classification of the species alongside with the various sepal and the petal width. So in a minute we're gonna look at how this is gonna look like, but let me call my new column classification, right? That is my key, and then I'm gonna give it a key. No, that I'm gonna give it a value. That was my key. I'm gonna give it a value, and the value I'm gonna call it cases. All right. I mean measurements, not cases. Measurements here. Good. So let me call those. Let's go down so that you can see. Now let me call upon those column heads. We have the sepal. See, of the sepal dot length, of the sepal dot width, and you also have the petal dot length here, and also petal dot width. Petal dot width. Okay, so what happens when I run this line of code? Good. So here we have a data set that is clean. Let us click on it and view it. See what it has done here. See, this is the first initial data set, and this is how it looked like. So under the new data set that we have gathered using the gather function, we have now a column. We only have 3 columns here: species, classifications, and measurements. So the new values that we have added here is these columns: classification and measurements. But these inputs, where are we getting them from? We are gathering from this data spread here in column names of sepal width all the way to petal width and their values. So we are just gathering them and coming up with a clean summary. So it's good to study that and understand how it works. I'm going to also show you another inbuilt data set. Let's look at table 4. That's another inbuilt data that comes with R. Okay, now let's first call upon it table 4 like that. Then we can now come and view table 4. Table 4A. Apologies. Yeah, like that. The good thing about R, you can see where it gives you an error in case you have made a mistake with the line of code. So this is another data set. We have the country, we have numeric column names here, 1999 and 2000, and we have some values within there. So how we gonna, let's try and also gather and come with something that is useful from this is raw data. Let's come with some useful information from it. So I'm gonna also create another data set called as table 4 cleaned, and then try and gather something. So let's use the gather function. What are we gathering from our data is a table 4a, okay, and what do we want to gather from there? We want to create a column name known as year, and our value will be cases, okay, and then let's now select the 1999, then 2000 as our column names. But now you realize that this one, if I try to run this line of code, it will actually throw an error. Let's look at it. Yeah, you see, say can't subset columns that don't exist. Why is it saying that? And yet here we have it, because these are numericals. But if you want to call them, reference them, we have to put them in quotes, either double quotes or single quotes, right? Good. Now if I come and look at table 4 cleaned, let's see what has happened here. We have classified it down. This was the initial. We had a country, and 1999, 2000, these are cases respective to those years. But now this one looks a bit cleaner. We have the three columns here now. We have the country, the year, and the cases, and you can see, okay, although we have multiple repetitions in year, but it also corresponds to different cases, different countries. Okay, good, 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 good. You can also choose to combine them if you want to. That will be messing it up, right? So guys, that is a little bit introduction on what you can do with the gather function. So I call upon you to go and read more, practice. If you can always pause, go back and check and see how you can do it. Good. Now let's uh, let's let's dive the let's look at the separate function now in Tidyr. So I also want to introduce another data set that comes with R, table 3. Let us look at how table 3 is. Here we have three columns. We have the country here and the rate here. Okay, so how are we gonna maybe draw information from this raw data? Good. Let me also create another data set that is table 3 clean. All right. Okay. Here. Nice. So we want to separate. Have you seen how table 3 looks like? Here it is. So we want to separate the column rate and spread it. Okay. Let us see how we can do that. Now we want to separate. Okay. So our data is table 3. Guys, it is important that you take note of the syntax and how we can do this. And then our column the column we want to separate is the rate. Okay. And what are we separating in? We separate into, now we want to break down that column. Okay. Not the syntax. You have to separate into cases now, and then also population, population. Okay. Uh, and the separation, what is separating the two is the, yeah, what slash. So if I happen to run that line of code and we look at table 3 cleaned, we see what we have here. You see, this is how table 3 was when we had the country here, and then we had the rate and the population. But now in this case, separated cases and population. Now we gonna separate this column to come up with cases and population. This is what we have here. All right. So you can always work with any form of data depending on your whatever that you actually need. Whatever, you can always answer various questions that your raw data has and come up with whatever summary information that you want. Now let's look at the spread function and how we can always use it. So here we have I also wanna look into table 2. Let's see how table 2 data is. These are various actually data sets which come with R. You can always look at them and try and practice with them. Okay, here we have 4 columns and 12 rows here, where we have the country, the year, the type, and the count. Take note of the type column and see how it is. Okay, it has two values, uh, population and cases, and their corresponding keys. So let's try and do something useful from there. So I'm also here gonna create table 2 cleaned. So I also wanna create another data set, table 2 cleaned, and then call upon the spread function, and our data is table 2. Okay, and now I wanna start with the key. What will be my key? So if I quickly get you into table 2, my key in this case is gonna be type. You see, because that is what I want to work with, the type column. So here I'm gonna say type, and then my value, the corresponding values are here, the count. My values are in the count column. So my value, I'm gonna get it from the count column. Good. Now if I run that code, I'm gonna have a new data set, table 2 cleaned. So if we look at it, we have the country, the year, the cases, and the population. So if you take a look at table 2 and how it was, especially taking note of the type column, where we have cases and population, and here we have just narrowed it down to we have just spread them into independent columns, making our data even more cleaner, and now it kind of makes sense. Okay, good. So that is basically a little bit of introduction into the Tidyr package. Remember, Tidyr is part of the Tidyverse packages, so you can actually go ahead and do a little bit of practice based on what we have learned. You can try to combine your knowledge in the dplyr package and the Tidyr package to kind of work with the little the big knowledge actually you have gathered. You have let me use the gather function here. You have gathered and improve your skills. So let's meet next time. Bye.